Hello there, this is Sarah from Dandelion Seeds Positive Parenting, and today I have the incredible privilege of speaking with Peggy Webb of West River Academy, and she's going to talk to us today about her academy and about what homeschooling, unschooling, deschooling, what all of these terms mean and how we can find a safe and happy coexistence with our children while we also foster a love of learning and growth within our very own lives, even if school does not look like a traditional mainstream school. So with no further ado, Peggy, welcome. I'd love to hear about you and the wonderful work that you do.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for inviting me to talk with you today. We're talking to parents, especially moms, and moms are the educators of their children. Moms and dads, hands down. And we, I think, have been told by all the people in the world that we're not good enough as parents, that we need something else. We need a school telling us what to do so that our children will be successful. And I always help people to question that, like, what is success? Are the schools and the government the best people to tell us how to educate our children? I think it starts from there. As you said, I am Peggy Webb. I'm the director of West River Academy, which is a private accredited school located in both Colorado and California. And we've been in business since 1993, so we've had a long time working with homeschooling families throughout the world. We're in over 50 countries right now, and we're finding that more and more parents are deciding that they want to take education back into their own hands. That for various reasons, the schools are just not good enough for their children. I think we all feel that way, right? So I started the school in 1993, and it's been growing ever since. And we're probably up to a couple thousand students right now from all over the world. And I started it because back in the day when I had 3 growing daughters, I couldn't find anything that was going to work for me in terms of an umbrella school. And they all wanted to charge me a lot of money, and they wanted to tell me what to do. So I said, well, this isn't working. I kind of want to figure out what to do for myself, and I don't want to pay an arm and a leg for that. So I'll just start my own. So when I lived in Ohio, it wasn't possible. But when I moved to Colorado, I looked at the laws, and I found, wow, it's pretty easy here. There's only 4 laws, and 3 of them say that the government has no business being involved. So I like that. So I said, I'm going to start a school. And so that's how West River Academy got started. You may understand what support groups are, and there's a lot of support groups around the country where, if you are homeschooling, you can join a support group and you can be involved in local activities and talk to people, have your kids socialize with the other kids. So I started the support group, and then that evolved into the school. And so that's what we're doing now. And all 3 of my daughters are involved with the school after having their own little careers, and then deciding, I think I want to get involved with West River Academy because I want to raise my kids in the same way. And I feel passionate about this whole idea of natural learning. You can see on our website here, West River Academy, freedom starts here is what it says, and turning life experiences into academic credit. So we promote natural learning, sometimes called unschooling. And when you get older, it's important that that natural learning gets turned into a transcript. So if you want to go to college, or your child wants to go to college, then we can summarize all of their learning by choosing course names and assigning grades and credits and presenting the learning in a format that college admissions personnel can understand. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're about.
Wonderful. Let's talk about some of the basics for just a moment, because a lot of parents, particularly in today's unusual circumstances, parents are faced with homeschooling or teaching their children in some capacity at home in a way that they've never done before. So they might be hearing terms like unschooling, homeschooling, deschooling, and not know the difference among them. Can you give me a brief synopsis of what some of these major terms mean for the parent who might be wondering, what am I doing and what does it look like?
Yeah, very simply, homeschooling is sort of the umbrella term. When your children are not in any school of any kind, they call it homeschooling or home education. Um, and then within that umbrella, you have unschooling on one, if you look at it as sort of a continuum or a spectrum, say on one side, you have unschooling. And on the other side, you have school at home, right? Sometimes they call that homeschooling, but to me, it's like school at home. And the umbrella term is homeschooling. So all of it. Now in the middle, you have all kinds of things, which I would call more eclectic. So you would have unit study, or, like, I want my kids to do math and English. And other than that, they can decide. So you have more of an eclectic approach. But school at home is where you say, well, I know what school looks like, so I'm going to do that at home. Here's the desk, I'm the teacher, I'll get the curriculum, and I will have my kids do this, and then I'll test them and I'll evaluate them and I'll give them a grade, and they have no say in the matter. That's what school is. Unschooling is on the total opposite side, where it says, well, wait a minute, children, humans are born learning. It's part of what we do. It's part of our nature. Curiosity is what makes us learn. Play is the form that learning takes for young children. They play, they tell you what they're interested in by what they gravitate towards and the kinds of maybe toys you buy them. If they, love Legos or cars, that's what you buy them. And if they want to cook, then they join you in the kitchen and do things like that. If they want to grow a garden, they'll let you know, maybe you'll get a plant, or maybe you'll get a goldfish and they'll want to raise the goldfish. And so you can introduce them to all kinds of things and then see where they gravitate. That's more of the natural approach. You can think of it as, when before they were put in any kind of a school, when they learned how to walk, did you give them walking lessons? It's ludicrous. When they learned to, talk, did you give them talking lessons? No. What did we do? We cheered. We said, yay, good for you. And, but then they get in school and they're told, well, what you are showing me isn't really important. Sit down, do what I tell you. Let's draw. Draw a banana. Well, you draw a purple banana because it's fun and you love purple. And the teacher says, no, 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 no. Bananas are yellow. So you start understanding that you're told now, the teacher isn't excited about you like your parents are. They're excited about you, right? Like you as parents, you're excited about your children's milestones, right? But when they get in school, they're told what to do, and then they're judged and evaluated. And what happens is this huge love of learning and excitement for life and curiosity that these kids are born with, it's like a big flame, and gradually it just starts going down, 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 down. It never goes out. And that's the beautiful thing. But it can be a pilot light for a while. The longer they're in school, the more they feel oppressed. They may act out. They may do all kinds of things because they have to survive. But if they come out of school, you can fan that flame and bring that love of learning and that excitement for life back into your family experience. Now, as that's happening, that's what we call deschooling. So deschooling is deprogramming. What's programming? Well, just like I said, it's the way we've been told to think as kids, because we've been in the system. We remember what it was like to be told what to do. And as parents, because we've bought into that. So the parents and the kids go through a deschooling process where they question, well, why should I bring a system that's designed for 30 kids and one teacher? Why should I bring that home? Why should I impose that on my child when I live with my child every day? Why do I have to test my child? Because I live with my child every day. I kind of liken it to growing carrots, right? Do you have to pull the carrot up to see how it's doing? Or can't you tell how it's doing by the little green leaves, and you water it and you fertilize it, and then you see the green leaves are getting bigger, you can be pretty confident that that carrot growing underground is thriving, right? It's doing well. And if it starts to wilt, you're like, oh, maybe it's not doing so well. But you don't dig up the carrot all the time to find out how it's doing. And I liken that to testing. You know, you're with your child, so you're communicating, and therefore you're understanding and you're knowing what your children are learning. And if you allow them to direct the learning, then they're happy doing so. They feel empowered, they feel validated, they feel honored and respected and loved and appreciated, and they thrive in that environment. And that curiosity just keeps on going, and you can't stop them. So I understand that when children come out of school, very often you say, well, what do you want to do? Like, oh, I don't know. But that's because of the system. And you can get that, I don't know, to move away towards, I can't wait to do this. I'm just so excited. Mom, can I do this now? Can I do that now? That will happen with some time. It's not overnight. It depends how long the children have been in school, you know, and how much they've been hurt, you might say, by a system which doesn't care about them. But it's never too late. Children can become fully healthy in their home environment with the love and nurture and support of the family, and a school like West River Academy that supports the family to support the kids. So we're all on the same side. There's no division. There's no, we're making you do this. It's more, how can we help you as parents facilitate the education with your children that allows them to thrive and be confident and be happy? That's success, isn't it? It's the bottom line.
I love it. And I love the analogies you use, fanning that flame to help it grow versus stifling it and, you know, throwing the sand on it and watching the carrot from the outside, knowing it's growing under there versus picking it up every time. Those are really poignant analogies that you talked about. With those analogies in mind, child-led learning certainly works. We can see that the carrot is growing. We can see that the leaves are starting to flourish. Um, let's talk a little bit about, okay, if I, as a parent, came from a traditional mainstream school and I'm used to the fact that by age 7, for example, my child should know basic addition and subtraction and perhaps be getting into multiplication. My child should know how to um, write a full sentence, even if it's a basic sentence. My child should be able to do that level of writing. My child should certainly be able to read by age 7. Let's talk about the shoulds that a lot of we as parents come into with up against. How do we know that our carrot is actually growing the right way versus, you know, at what point does this not translate so well onto the transcript because, oh my goodness, my child is 7 and she doesn't know how to read yet. Is she lost for life? You know, let's talk about these milestones a little bit and give some comfort to the parents who worry that child-led learning isn't fostering some skills that they're used to seeing at certain milestones for their children.
Yeah, well, the first thing is to question the should, right? Who says? Who's creating the should? Is it some person that I respect? Is it somebody that deeply knows my child and knows what they want better than I do? So that's the first thing. Question the shoulds. Now, the second thing is the fact that every child is an individual and they have strengths, right? So we as parents want to help them develop their passions and their strengths. School concentrates on weaknesses, right? It's like, well, you can do this, that's fine, we won't worry about it, but you can't do this. And so we really have to bring you up to snuff. But that's not natural, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. That's not the way humans are. Humans specialize, right? And we start specializing when we're little babies. We see what our babies are gravitating towards, and we provide those experiences. So a child that's, you know, really into like construction and building Legos and engineering may not read till he's 8, 11. Boys especially tend to naturally read at a later age. I think the average is 8. Whereas girls who might be more verbal and into the books and things like that, and I'm not trying to, make it a sex related thing, but it's very natural. You see that happening. Any child that is really into reading will develop, their ability to communicate. They're really wanting to do that. Now, does that mean that I have to give my child Legos and say, no, 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 but you can't do Legos, so we have to focus on that? I think we're going to get screams, right? But that's what they do in school. And so the idea of jack of all trades, master of none, it should be reversed, I think. Children should be, talk about should. Children generally are masters of certain things, and they don't have to know everything. So the world will be balanced by all the talents being expressed and acted upon and maybe gone into as careers to help the rest of the people. But do I have to know a little bit of everything? Well, how much will that help society versus if I know a lot about one or two or three things and I can use that to advance society, might that be more valuable? I guess that's the question. So no, school says do this, do this, do this by these ages, but it's artificial. And it also makes our children feel they're not good enough in certain areas because they don't match up to the kids that are ready and are able to do certain things. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Now, as you progress through the years, children play, then they get older and they start moving into things that don't look so much like play. They might read a book, they might take an online course, they might take a community college course. And when they become teenagers, we recommend that they keep a journal, they keep track of what they're learning. And then when it's time to graduate and we make the transcript, we'll take everything that we can remember that they've done, parents, kids, us, and we'll help them to choose course names that are very much like the high school courses that kids will take at the school. Choose the course name, then subjectively give them a grade, ABC, choose the credit, package it so that the student can go to college. Now you might say, well, are they ready? Okay, think about it. Your child is 18 years old. They're going to go to a college they've never been in school before, for example. They're going to join like every other freshman. They're going to sit in the class. The teacher's going to start talking and presenting information. They're going to get a textbook. They're going to listen. They're going to read. They're going to do the homework. They have the capability as mature 18-year-olds to sit in a class with any other 18-year-old and learn something. Wouldn't you agree? As an adult, if you want to learn something, you go into a place where you can learn it, and there'll be other people that don't know it because they haven't learned it yet, and you'll start learning. It's not really hard. You don't need 12 years of preparation to do this. So we're creating a transcript basically to get them through the door if that's what they want to do. Doesn't mean we're cheating, but we're packaging what they've learned in a way that the college admissions people can relate to it, understand it, and see that the student is ready to do college level work. So I guess that's the answer to the shoulds and why you don't have to pay that much attention to it.
Well, and I love the way you approach it, and I love the way you describe it, because let's take that Lego example for a minute. If you have a 10-year-old who wants to spend his or her days manufacturing all sorts of cities and elaborate Lego creations throughout the day, it doesn't mean that learning isn't happening in that creation. There is engineering there, there is math there is the study of structural this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it's all sorts of things that still foster the same synapse connections that a math worksheet might foster, just in a different form. So
it's holistic, isn't it? It's really, it's not dividing learning into subjects. That's so artificial. That's not how people learn. We learn holistically. So when you're out jogging in the park, you can call that PE, physical education. You could also call it nature study. You might stop jogging and take a look at a squirrel and watch him climb a tree and watch him gather nuts. Now you're into science. So you're going to be learning various disciplines while you're engaging in one activity, right? That's what that holistic learning is all about. And that's part of the deschooling process, because we have to remember that we were taught this way to divide things up. And then we as parents think that that's normal. So we encourage that among our children in school. But when we realize that that's really not the way humans started learning before schools came into existence, then we can change. We can say, wait a minute, look what she's doing. And sometimes I tell parents to just follow your child around the house with a notebook, you know, and just spy on them, take notes and go, wow, he's doing Legos. Oh, but he's calculating if this is going to fit there. He's doing math, he's doing proportions. There's so much going on here. Plus he's talking to me about it. So now he's learning how to express something in language, to communicate. That's English. That's vocabulary development. There's so much going on at one time.
Exactly. Life is so much more than a worksheet, so much more than a textbook or a notebook or a composition book or, blue books back from my era of just
Right.
writing down, this is what was fed to me and I am regurgitating what it was. It's, as you mentioned, holistic is the perfect word for this type of learning because it is life learning. It is understanding the world around us and knowing that it's all input and it's all okay. And for those of us who were raised thinking school has to look this way and my job must be to somehow replicate that at home, it is so freeing to release that belief and observe these wonderful, magical creatures that we call our children and say, look how much is happening in their brains. Just when I think my child hasn't learned a thing this year, I realized, oh, wait a second. She just read the directions of how to play this new board game. I don't think last year she could read the directions. Some of these things are happening that didn't require a single worksheet, but that somehow learning has fallen into our laps. And we just need to be present enough to realize that learning is all around us all the time. And I love how you translate that into something that, as you mentioned, the transcripts, will make sense of for the admissions officers for these children who want to go on to do other things down the road. What about that child, though, who seems to be so singularly focused? I'm thinking of lots of parents who say things to me like, all my child wants to do is play video games and that's it. I'm at a loss. We clearly need to buckle down. What do you say to that parent?
The video games is a big topic in society, not just in homeschooling, right? It's for every parent. And I don't know about you, but I was not raised on the internet. And so I have nothing to relate it to growing up myself. Now I see kids that are fluent, on their pads and with their gaming and so forth. And they pick it up at earlier and earlier ages. You give them a device and before you know it, they know more than you do. So, and there is a demand for that. There is an industry. We have a lot of students who are actually very, very good and plan to make the gaming industry their career. They want to write programs, and some of them are so good that they're earning money doing it. So, who are we to say that they shouldn't be doing that? Now, as a parent, what comes to your mind might be, well, how much time should they be spending in front of the screen? And I think that's a major concern these days with school being conducted at home on Zoom all day. The child is in front of a screen 8 hours. And I heard from a mom whose child was 5 years old, spending 8:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the afternoon doing kindergarten. And the mother was feeling that was terrible. So there is the health element that we have to consider. It's not healthy, number one, to be sitting in one place all day. It's not healthy to be exposing your eyes and therefore your body to all of the frequencies that are coming through, and the blue light especially is very bad. So if you look into all the health aspects of a child being in front of a screen, you may feel as a parent that you'd like to limit that, a couple hours a day or 4 hours a day or whatever. You might also want to pay attention to the content, I think that's pretty obvious. But we also, as they get older and see what they're really good at, maybe that's where they're headed. And so I think it's a parent-child relationship thing. Maybe I know I've heard of parents who ask their children to do the research on the benefits and the dangers of gaming, for example. Like I know that, and I know that it's a difficult thing for parents, but bringing the children into the conversation and then talking as a family unit about, okay, we're concerned about this. We know you're wanting to do that. Can we come to a family decision, a compromise, a plan that we can implement, and then for a month? And then let's see how it goes a month from now. We'll reconvene and we'll talk about it. So it's not just like school at home. It's not laying the law down. It's not like, you don't matter, I'm in charge, you do what I tell you. It's not that top-down approach. It's the same approach, but now we're dealing with kind of a tricky subject area. Does that help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love something you said a second ago where a lot of this relationship is about relationship. This is not just homeschooling in that we are, robots teaching our children something, even if it is natural learning. Okay, there's a tree, we're going to play, I need to mark it down this tree. This is relationship that we have with our children. And this is our heart's work. This is our parenting work. It's not that we separate our teacher selves from our mommy or daddy or caregiver selves. We can modify what we're doing based on what's working or not working for our individual family and what our needs are.